living longer, living healthier, living better than ever before. Welcome to Mountain Pacific's Healthy Living for Life, a weekly series that gives you the information, education, and expert insight you need to become an active participant in today's ever-changing healthcare climate. Here now is today's program host.
Just how helpful is diabetes education? Well, studies show learning about diabetes and getting support lead to people taking better care of their health and keep them out of the hospital. The bottom line is people with diabetes do not know what they don't know. And learning about diabetes can answer questions you didn't even know you had. Welcome to Healthy Living for Life, a show dedicated to helping you do just that. I'm your host, Beth Brown. Today we talk about diabetes and the power of education. Stay tuned. Welcome back. We start this morning talking with Sue Larson, a certified diabetes educator. Thanks for being with us this morning, Sue.
Thank you, Beth.
And welcome back, because you've been on our show before. So before we talk about diabetes education, can we just start by talking a little bit about diabetes? Statistics show that millions of Americans have diabetes or pre-diabetes, and they don't even know it. How is that possible? How do you not know if you have diabetes or pre-diabetes?
Well, the symptoms of diabetes can be really subtle at first, such as increased thirst and urination, being tired, blurry vision. A lot of seniors associate it with aging. So until blood sugars are quite elevated, people often don't have overt symptoms, and it's picked up in a routine screening.
Okay. And there are two types of diabetes. We hear people have type 1 or type 2. Can you explain what those differences are?
Sure. Type 1 is an autoimmune condition when the body destroys the cells in the pancreas that produce insulin. So people with type 1 diabetes need to start insulin from day one to stay alive. Type 2 diabetes is the one that can be much more subtle. It generally happens in adults over the age of 40, and they are still producing some insulin, but their insulin isn't working properly. Either condition with the lack of insulin or the insulin not working properly results in high blood sugars.
How do people get or develop diabetes? Are there risks?
Yeah, classic risk factors for diabetes are aging, so being over the age of 40, family history, and we don't get to select those top two, sure. We have no control. Being overweight and inactive, certain ethnic groups are much higher risk. People who already have high blood pressure or high cholesterol can go on to develop diabetes as well.
So we talked earlier that sometimes people don't know when they have diabetes or pre-diabetes. Are there things they should be looking out for to might be warning signs that something's going on?
I'd say the increased thirst and urination, blurry vision that may come and go, being tired and lethargic, dry mouth, cuts and sores that don't heal well, or increased infections. I think the best thing people can do, especially over age 40, is make sure they're seeing a provider so they can get their blood checked at least every 3 years, and then as people get older, it often is every year.
Oh, okay, that's good to know. And so if someone is sitting at home right now and thinking, oh, that's me, I am tired, or I am showing those symptoms, what should they do?
They should call their provider and schedule an appointment so they can get a blood test. And they can diagnose diabetes two different ways. A blood test called a hemoglobin A1C, and when that comes back at 6.5 or greater, that is diagnostic for diabetes, or a fasting glucose level of 126 or greater is positive for a diabetes diagnosis. Prediabetes falls in when fasting blood sugars are elevated, but below those diabetes cutoffs, fasting blood sugars of 100 to 125 are diagnostic for prediabetes.
Okay. So if someone does go and see their doctor and their numbers are in those ranges that you just talked about, why do you think it's important after learning that information and getting that diagnosis that they work with a diabetes educator?
I think it's real important that they, ask their provider if their provider doesn't give one for a referral to a diabetes educator. I think first of all, it's very overwhelming and scary at first. Mm-hmm. So a diabetes educator can help teach them if they have about how to make healthy food choices or increase movement. We might get them started with blood glucose monitoring. It's also just that support. And we're really a coach. We're going to help people make changes within their own lifestyle to control their blood sugars. And it's very individualized. There's not one diabetes diet for all clients. Everybody's different. There's different ways to approach it. So the diabetes educator can really help with that.
Perfect. And so is that when you go see a diabetes educator, is when you're diagnosed, or when should you consider seeing a diabetes educator?
Well, I think when people are first diagnosed, and if they're first diagnosed with prediabetes, they might be referred to a registered dietitian who might not be a certified diabetes educator, and that's okay. But at initial diagnosis, I encourage clients to check in yearly just to make sure they're staying up to date on their tests, exams, and vaccines. It can be a device check where it gives us an opportunity to check their blood glucose monitor or their continuous glucose monitor. There's so much new technology. It's also an opportunity to talk to people about, hey, did you know that you might be a candidate for a continuous glucose monitor now?
So you talked a little bit already about what a diabetes educator does, being that coach and that person that can give you that education. Can you talk a little bit about what it is like if someone sits down with a diabetes educator? What can that person expect?
They can expect the diabetes educator is going to ask them some questions. It's called an assessment. I mean, I really want to focus on what the client wants to talk about to help individualize it or personalize it to what's going to work in their lifestyle. So usually it's a one-on-one session. Sometimes clients will choose to go into group classes. I'd say the majority of my clients prefer to be seen one-on-one in a private setting. It usually takes about an hour. And we're going to work with them and hopefully give them some recommendations and also focus on what they're doing right.
Perfect. Yeah, it's always nice to hear what you're doing right
That's
instead of
right.
what you're doing wrong. So really quickly, we're almost out of time, but money is an issue for those people who need this extra help. Is it covered by insurance?
Yes, it usually is. And Medicare has excellent benefits for diabetes education when people are newly diagnosed, and then ongoing yearly benefits for both diabetes education and medical nutrition therapy with a registered dietitian. So if someone doesn't have a diabetes education program in their region, they can usually find a registered dietitian who can also provide that service.
Perfect. Okay, thanks. We do need to pause here for just a quick break. But coming up next, we'll talk to a person who has diabetes and find out just how valuable diabetes education can be. Don't go away. We'll be right back.